we didn't catch any of that.
Hell yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Because there was an outage here yesterday,
Nice.
and this was off.
Nice.
So now we're starting the podcast again.
Back to our roots.
Listen, this is all kind of your fault
I love that.
from the beginning.
Just keep blaming me, Doug. Listen,
kind of your
if you
fault
keep blaming me, you might start believing it.
that it's your fault.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think I know the truth. It's
The saddest
not-
part about all that, the best joke I ever said was not capped.
It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be.
Well, I'll have to say it for stand-up. Fuck. God damn it.
I don't even remember the premise.
You're like, if I was 6'8", I'd be an athlete.
Oh yeah, you're like it's a fucking annoying.
It's
to be
no, it's like 50-50. That's either you're a fucking athlete or like if you're not, you're just fucking annoying.
So you know it was a good joke because the second
Yeah,
time
it's so funny.
it's still funny.
Can't go through doors. You're fucking like, what do you do in life?
Now,
At 6'8".
does it? Do you think your cock size stops at a certain height? Like, you think there's a difference between a guy who's 6'5" and 6'8" cock size?
I think God has a plan for every man's cock size.
See, that's something only a religious man believes.
I do.
Do you
Because
think-
imagine you really think that if you grew another foot, you'd have like proportionally bigger penis to like the foot increase?
No.
Exactly. So like divide your height. Don't tell me. Divide your height by your cock size, and then do the math. You really think that if you're like 2 more feet taller, no?
I think so.
Okay. Well.
I just gave you 2 different answers and you didn't even catch
Yeah.
that.
No, I did.
Oh,
You
okay.
said yes and no. Okay.
Oh, man. So what else is new, dude?
Uh.
Done your vacation time in
Dude, I'm
April?
done for like the next 5 years. That was a lot. That was a lot of traveling. I was just a physio today actually, and we were talking about that, about if I notice anything, or because I was gone for a while, right? Like I was doing a lot of walking. I did a hike at one point, and all this other stuff. And to be honest with you, I only noticed it twice. There was one time when we were walking like 20 kilometers a day with my dad, and we were like sightseeing, right? Like what are you gonna do? You're walking. Like your mom and your sister did similar in Europe. Like you walk a lot when you're traveling. And then like the 3rd day or 4th day in a row of doing like 20K. So when I started feeling my knee, like the meniscus, like I could feel like it's like sore, but almost like a kind of like a sharp pain, but it's not a strong pain, but it's a sharp pain. So that was more of like a fatigue thing, and I noticed that became an issue. And then when I did a hike on the way down is when I noticed it, like the pain. But other than that, no instability issues, which is really, really, really big positive for the ACL. So right now I'm really just focused on the meniscus. Might be doing some PRP.
I'm going to tell you something
into that.
you might dislike, but this is honest truth. From me, you, Emil, Vic, if you're going to ask me 10 years ago who's going to get injured first, probably you.
Interesting. Why would you say that?
I'd probably say you. Because those guys aren't... they decided at a very young age they're going to be academics. And that's solely what they... Like, Emil, yeah, okay, maybe he does some badminton or whatever the fuck he does. Tennis. Fuck all. But he used to, before he had a girlfriend, he used to do more shit. He used to play ping pong. He used to do some tennis. I remember he used to play some basketball. He used to work out with... Dude, he worked out with me for a whole year.
I remember.
And it's the girlfriend that kind of... I don't want to say that's the reason, but I think it's just a combination of things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That comes together.
Sure.
You see this often with married couples. They just get fat. And or couples in a long-term relationship, they both get fat as fuck. And I think it's hard to motivate a girlfriend to work out.
Unless they're already about that life.
Or unless you are that guy where you're like... you're the motivation. You're like, I'm gonna be working out, and then she sees you working out. She's like, oh fuck, I gotta keep my shit tight. But Emil's not that guy. Emil's not a type of guy where he's like, I gotta work out. He's like, fuck, I'm getting fat.
Yeah.
Emil's motivation is, I'm getting a belly.
Yeah. Which honestly, fair enough. That's like
Most people.
that's enough motivation for most people.
Most people.
And honestly, if that's what it takes, then good.
But that's the problem.
And good.
It takes more than that. That's the issue.
Yeah.
You can't do 2-a-days, bro. I'm telling you, not many people can do 2-a-days and work a regular job.
Well, at that point, you're making that a priority, right? like at a higher priority than other things in your life that you're doing. Like
But
two a
if you're-
days, that's a lot of that's time, right? So you talk about how much time is there in a day. You work 8 or 10 hours in a day. That's average for most people. So that's out of the 16 hours, ideally in a day that you have available to you, that's 8 to 10 already gone. So you got 6 hours left. What are you doing with the rest of your 6 hours? 2 a days equates to roughly like between the time you got to take to drive to the gym, do your gym, drive back, shower if you're showering, and then get back to like your next thing and routine. You're talking like for an hour to hour and a half gym, that's like a 2 hour split gone. That's 4 hours gone. So you have 2 hours left in the day to do what? Everything else? You can shorten it. I believe that you can. Like if you're efficient, what you're doing, okay, fine. Let's take it down to 3. But you're not going to do two a days in less than 3, I don't think. With all the time that is considered, like you got to go there, come back,
Let me
shower,
explain.
all that stuff.
1 hour in the gym
Yeah.
in the morning, half an hour of cardio at night. It's an hour
Okay,
and
yeah,
a half.
that's fair. Yeah, sure. If you do
Okay.
something like that makes sense.
The reason you want to split it up is because I read this article about hormone in the blood.
Mm.
You probably know this, maybe you don't. Different esters, the best way to do steroids is to have even hormones in your blood. Where people go wrong is that they have a blast on, like, let's say they do their first shot on a Monday,
Yeah.
and then their next shot is the next Monday. So by the time it's Sunday, their levels are like fucking dipping.
Mm.
What you want is like as even as possible.
Right.
So some of these guys, they'll fucking pin 5 days a week. How does metabolism work? Metabolism works exactly in the same way.
Don't they say that cardio is best to do in the morning, like fasted cardio?
Anything that is, your body doesn't understand what cardio is versus muscle building. It doesn't understand. It understands heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're doing CrossFit and you have 140 beats a minute for an hour versus you're running and you have 140 beats a minute per hour. Your body doesn't know the difference. What, you have some type of like secret CPU?
I know what you're saying. Like when it's happening, it doesn't know, but the effects after it'll definitely. There's a difference between what you do to your body when you do cardio versus when you're doing weights. The whole point of doing weights is you're breaking down your muscle.
There's more protein synthesis involved, but there's still some protein synthesis in cardio because you are running, and that is resistance.
There is a limit, but okay, sure.
But you look at these CrossFit athletes; they're
No, I mean,
they're-
like,
they're,
you
they're,
look at-
doing, they're doing resistance, but they're doing cardio resistance.
Yeah, but I mean, CrossFit's interesting because the whole thing with them is that they're mixing it together, right? So they're doing the weights and cardio at the same time. They're doing like some like stupid movements where they'll try and lift their weights in a way that they're doing cardio at the same time, which in a way is good for you because you're pushing your body in different ways. Or whatever. Fuck, fine, cool. But it's different than like static weightlifting where guys are like do your sets.
But then you
Done.
see a
Do your
body
sets, done.
You see
Rest.
a body fat difference between the two, right? The reason bodybuilders are lean is not because they do a fuck ton of cardio or they do their weight exercises fast. Is because they're doing a bunch of hormones that makes them fucking have crazy metabolism, like T3. They're hitting their thyroid, they're hitting their temperature, their mitochondria, their liver, their pancreas to have that physique. It's not because of cardio. But when you look at like strength athletes, if you're looking at, I'll give you an example. Unless you're forcing yourself not to gain weight because it's against your sport, you're going to gain muscle. Like, look at sprinters.
Mm-hmm.
Sprinters, they're not technically supposed to gain muscle mass, technically. There's a fine line with sprinting. You can't be 280 and be a sprinter. It just doesn't work.
That's true.
So you have to have a fine line between lifting weights and doing some type of cardio in your sport. However, your body does not understand the difference between heart rate. Heart rate's the same.
Mm-hmm.
If your heart rate's the same,
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
your calorie.
Your body's not looking to be like, oh damn, nice weights you're lifting. Like
Yeah.
I know. In that sense, like your organs don't understand the
So
difference.
how do you break that down? Is that like in the morning, what I do or what I just started doing is I spar 20 minutes with Roshan, give him a little bit of CTE in the AM.
Nice.
Then what I do is we hit the weights for about 40 minutes. Then I dip the fuck out of there because after 40 minutes of lifting weights, I'm drained. My glucose is fucking low. I'm already fasted at this point.
Yeah.
I don't need to eat until 10. The nice thing I noticed is I have a ton of energy in the morning. Like I didn't even drink coffee today.
Yeah.
And then after we're done this pod, I'm gonna go do 30 minutes of cardio. But the beauty of it is that the afternoon, other than that 30 minutes, you're free to do whatever the fuck you want. Versus when I go to the gym in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta wait for 10 fucking people to get off the lat machine.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. Like there's
So
a lot
the
of gyms.
efficiency time
Yeah, sure.
is easy, and my cardio is done downstairs on a fucking stationary bike
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
where I stand up on it and I do thing for my fucking glutes because daddy wants to have a fucking fat ass.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like in that aspect, you're not doing 3 hours, you're doing an hour and a half. Your metabolism is a lot more stable, and I honestly don't feel. I had only 2 meals today.
Mm-hmm.
It's already 7 p.m. Probably gonna have a fucking sandwich. My girl's gonna make me, and then that's fucking that's the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get down to 250, and I'm trying to get down to 195.
Why?
I want to be as lean as possible I can this year,
Why?
because I've been trying to bulk for so many years,
Mm.
and I haven't really paid attention. I care more about muscle mass growth instead of, you know, fatness,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And now I want to kind of focus on leaning out, because I don't think I'm going to gain any more muscle than I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe another 5 pounds in the next 20 years. But at this point, it's like you're primed your physique. It's
Mhm.
time to shred. Like there's no, you know, it's not like being on steroids where you're like, okay, I'm going to get delts. Like, no, you're
Yeah.
done. That's it.
Yep.
All you need as a guy is to have a six pack or like be somewhat shredded, and then you don't really need to give a fuck about your physique. It's actually easier for women, but men, as long as you have a six pack, you have a good physique by most standards.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can just focus on other shit. Like how we're going to get famous off this pod.
Sure.
What we're going to do about your gyno. What we're going to do about my hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to get into the States again?
Asking the real questions.
These are the real shit. How are we going to grow our cocks? Right? You're a little fucking, you're a little spring roll and my little fucking halal meat. How are we going to grow these couple inches? These are the real shit we got to
You
worry
want to
about.
get a, you want to turn it from a hubide to a fucking, what's the thing with the barag or whatever, like the thick one, or it's just like this-
Vaziri. How
Yeah.
to go from a Kumide to a Vaziri, bro. Thick as shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Thick as shit and chewy as fuck.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's the move.
That's the way. That's
That's
the way.
I was looking at this one kind of morbid ass video about real estate, and it was saying how only 1% of single family homes is owned by private hedge funds. But that number is significantly increasing because it was into the like 0.001 percentile in the last 20 years, and that's raised to 1%.
That's significant.
And they're projecting like another 20% in the next 10 years. Now, this is only the United States, which means it doesn't mean this is Canada, but we have
Yeah.
a worse housing problem than the States. Housing problems in Vancouver and Toronto are way worse than
Well, worse in what sense? Like affordability, like availability.
anything.
What do you mean anything?
Both. We are in more of a deficit, and we cannot build enough houses for the amount of population increase that we have versus the States. The States doesn't have the same problem. There's tons of housing, even in the expensive areas.
The States has other problems that we don't have.
Sure, but
Right.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about housing prices, because a
Yeah.
lot of happiness and stability in any relationship and in any household is based on the fact that you own your land. If you own, there's very few basics in life, Hector. One is having your woman that nobody has; it's yours. Having your own money and having your own house.
That's cultural.
Is it?
You've been told that that's what you need. You've been institutionalized to believe that your validity in life stems from owning.
Not validity.
Yeah, it is. That's
It's
what
not
you're
being
saying.
valid.
That's
what it is
That's what you're. That's what you're expressing, right?
no, but owning can be very different. You can have a leasehold. You can have.
There's people. There's places out there where the culture is not to own; it's just to rent,
For how long?
just until your literally your entire life.
Okay, but how can you rent into your 90s?
How can you not?
You don't have sufficient income coming in to rent
Why not?
because your income collapses and deteriorates into your retirement.
So you're saying that there's no way for you to get some kind of social security, just enough to float on? Like what? Why
You
does that?
can, but the stability and the environment that you're living in is going to significantly decrease.
I tell you this because in Europe, where it's common, right? In Europe, it's very common to rent and not to own.
Do you know why?
It's because there's no land there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
we have land here.
Yes and no.
If they could own, they would.
We have land here, but we don't have as much land as people think. There's a lot more land in the States than there is here. In terms of where people,
livable land.
That's
yes.
what I'm saying, where people actually want to and can live. Right? There's a reason why 70% of Canadians live within like 100 kilometers of the border.
Yeah.
It's because it's really the only hospitable. I mean, yeah, sure. There's patches of it. Like you go up here to like technically the road leading up to fucking Cologne and Kamloops, but even then it's pockets.
Yeah.
It's not like in Europe where when you take a highway somewhere, there's people living on the side of like the towns all over.
Yeah.
Here it's like you drive from here to Merritt, there's nothing till you hit Merritt.
Yeah.
And then from Merritt to fucking Cologne or Kamloops, there's nothing until you hit those places.
Okay.
It's like 2 or 3 fucking little like houses or ranches.
What's the oldest country in Europe?
Oldest country in Europe, like continuous country?
Yeah, sure.
Probably.
How many years? Let's just say you don't even have to tell me.
It's centuries. It's in the hundreds.
Hundreds
It'll be in the
of
hundreds.
centuries.
It's no hundreds of years, right? Because it'll be
Hundreds of
centuries.
years.
It'll be centuries.
So it'd be
I want to say
Couple
it'll be like
thousand years?
England, Germany,
a couple thousand years.
at
Italy,
most,
Yeah.
yeah. Italy, sure.
Greece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give it time.
Give what time
Give us time
to what?
to get there.
No.
You don't think if humans are living in 2,000 years, I promise
The-
you, from here to Merritt is going to be full of houses.
The environmental conditions.
It's
don't-
also cold in Switzerland. It's also cold.
Not in
Netherlands.
Switzerland, not in Netherlands, not like here.
Netherlands is a lot
What
colder than
you
here.
got to compare to here would be if you talked about like Sweden, Norway, and the majority of people in those countries live in the south. Where is Oslo? Oslo's in the southern tip of Norway. No one fucking lives in the north.
Yeah, but the houses increase regardless.
I mean, houses increase regardless.
Out of desperation, houses will increase.
Yes and no. You say give it time. Yeah, you're talking about the amount of time it would take for the northern half of Canada to be populated at a dense level. Your bones won't even be on this earth.
Yeah.
Is how much time.
No, for sure. But
Like,
what I'm saying
your-
is it's a
your-
progression.
Your grandson's bones won't even be like
You
it'll
know,
be dust.
It's going against the grain for sure, but it is
It's more than that.
It's definitely going against the grain because of environmental values and people's are accustomed to having comfort. But what I'm saying is, at this rate, it's gonna get to a point where you're not gonna be able to afford anything lower than Nelson, or lower than Prince George, or lower than thing in a few hundred, if not few
Yeah,
thousand years.
maybe, man. Now you're projecting the shit you don't even know about, right? Like
Sure,
that's
sure.
a weird one.
But
'cause
it's just logical to think if population increases, that housing is going to be more of a problem because people are
Yes.
born a lot faster than houses are built. That's why we're in the deficit.
not here actually. Our main problem here has been immigration. Our birth rate is actually quite low for a country our size.
good.
The G's for being in the G7, we actually have a pretty low birth rate.
Good. We don't need more.
There's problems with that too. Like with anything, man, balance is what's key.
Sure,
Right.
but I think
If you run into like a problem like where you have a negative birth rate, you run into the like Japanese and Korean problems where they're on a bubble where at some point the amount of support that the aging population needs exceeds what's available to them. That's an issue.
for sure.
That's an issue.
For sure. But those countries are also moronic when it comes to immigration policies. If you
They
look
don't
at-
have immigration policies. Their policies are we have no policy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That there's a reason
Yes.
for that, right?
Yeah.
But it also doesn't help that we make these moves with bringing 700,000 Indians over and then send them home again because the economy is going through a collapse. It doesn't make sense. It seems like the government is run by a couple of fucking kids that want to make the most amount of money in the world, and they're very short-sighted.
What surprises me about a lot of that too is just how
Disorganized. It
not
is.
even disorganized, but how blind people within the system can be to what's happening around them.
I don't think they're
like-
blind. I think they turn a blind eye.
Yeah. Right? Because you talk about the Liberal Party right now, and it doesn't take that smart of a person to realize that Trudeau is having a net negative effect on everybody around him. Like, people don't like him. And that's fine. People don't have to like him. That's just how it is as a prime minister. You're going to have people that like you, people that don't. Fine. But what's happening now is he's actually starting to have a negative effect on the people around him in his own party, where people are now starting to associate the Liberal Party with Justin Trudeau, and people are actually starting to vote against the Liberals just because Trudeau happens to be the face of them.
Yeah.
Where if he wasn't the face of the party, a lot of people will actually be like, you know what? Okay, I'm okay being a Liberal. I'm cool with it still. But the fact that he's still in, people will be like, you know what? I've been a registered Liberal Party member for X amount of years, but this guy's been doing a lot of bullshit that I don't agree with, so I'm just going to say no.
It's time he leaves, bro. It's been 8 years.
But what I'm saying now is, like, the party has the power to like force a vote to like get him out and install another leader. But his own arrogance, I think, tells him that if he were to leave, it would be a negative effect on the party. Where in fact,
it would be better.
It would be a positive one.
Yeah, but we need Pierre Poilievre.
Dude, that guy's a.
You say this, but he.
What do you mean you say this? He says this, man.
Trudeau.
Holy fuck! The amount of shit he's walked back and forth. Oh my god!
I'd rather walk back and forth than have Trudeau, bro.
The whole reason people don't like Trudeau is because he's been walking back and forth.
No,
Trudeau
bends over and takes cock in the ass. That's why people don't.
Oh yeah, that's what happened. You saw that happen. You were there. Oh, you did it.
When I shook Buddy's hand, his hand felt like he sucked cock.
How do you feel like you suck cock?
He just felt small.
You know how I know you're gay?
And submissive.
Because you know what that feels like.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. For sure.
I was rewatching the 40-Year-Old Virgin the other day.
Yeah.
It's so good. Because they're like going back and forth. Like, you know how I know you're gay? Because you like to do it. He goes, you know how I know you're gay? It's so fucking stupid. Oh, man. Seth Rogen, Paul Rudd.
Good combo.
Yeah, dude. And those when they were like 20 years old. They were so young back then.
What was this?
40-Year-Old Virgin with Steve Carell.
They weren't 20.
They were pretty fucking young. They weren't
like
20.
30.
They were like barely 30. I think Seth
like
Rogen
50 now.
No, he's like, bro. This
48.
movie was in like 2005. I was like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it was like
Jesus Christ, bro. We're gonna be in our 40s pretty soon here.
Not very soon, but yes.
Enough where like I had this feeling when I was 21. I was like, I'm gonna be 30 soon, and here we are.
Here we are.
It didn't feel like as long as it should have been. Is my problem. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it felt like it wasn't long enough.
There's an old saying where it's translated from another language, but it basically goes like, the path up the mountain always feels a lot longer than the fall back down.
That's a good one.
Right? Like whenever you look up at something, it feels like it's so fucking far away, and then once you're there, you look down or you look back at you, it feels like you just barely left.
I say it because I thought life was going to have more lessons.
Do you think the lessons were there, you just didn't appreciate and stopped to listen at certain points in life? And as you age, you're now aware of that?
At minimal times, yes. But I think majority of the issue is none of us in a democracy of like, not even democracy, in capitalism, have enough time to see these lessons for what they are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can agree with
Spend
that.
most of your time selling dope. Then you get into fucking this. Then you get into that. Then you get into this. Then you get into that. Then you realize, fuck, all these whores have been fucking worthless. Right? It takes you a few years to understand that because that lesson is covered in pleasure. So it takes a long time for that pleasure to wipe clean and you to see the lesson for what it is. Right? Majority of guys spend their whole life, if they're stupid, trying to impress women. By their jobs, by their cars, by their houses, by their material things. And then you don't understand that doing that gets you the wrong attention from the wrong woman. That takes a while to understand. And we've all made that same mistake. Even you. Even name a guy.
Yeah.
He's made that mistake. Because when you're young, you're a lot more impulsive. And you tend to want to have an ego boost rather than make the right decision. Very, very, very few people are not egotistical at 18. I know almost nobody.
Yeah, I hear that.
Right? And even the people who are successful, It's not because they're not egotistical. It's because of pure chance and opportunity lines up with preparation. And that's
Mhm.
an old cliche saying, but it's true. You look at all these guys who are like athletes, inventors.
That's what luck is. People luck
Exactly.
is when opportunity meets preparation.
But nobody teaches you not to be egotistical at a young age. They tell you, go enjoy life. You'll learn on the way. But my thing is like, this goes back to our last week's podcast. If you don't actually take the time to tell your kids this or show them this in a way where it's effective, so because some parents do tell them this, but it's just not in an effective way where the kid comprehends what they're dealing with, the importance of dealing with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Tends to ignore, tends to dismiss, like mother's or father's advice, and that's where you have to instill these things. That's why another reason I'm a firm believer in being very involved with your child's growth, because only you can completely stop them from making these type of mistakes. Even they cannot.
They usually cannot.
But the choice is theirs
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be very, you can call it helicopter parent, but I don't even think it's helicopter parent. I think it's strict love. I think helicopter parent is like, let me protect my kid at all costs. It's like, no, if my kid's a murderer, he's going to jail.
No, helicopter parent extends to more than just the ones who are like protect them from everything. It refers to the idea that they're the helicopter. What's a helicopter? It's always above you. The helicopter parent refers to the fact that the parent is always surrounding their child, no matter what, in many aspects, physically.
Then let me give a
mentally.
different analogy for what I would want to be.
Sure.
Sniper parent.
It's not
I want to see
always
them
around.
always around, but never seen.
Hilarious. That's actually not bad.
That's the best. That's the best. You know how many hours I'm going to be spending just fucking loss preventioning my kid?
Do you know how many hours I'm not going to be in my kid's life?
But I'll be around.
Yeah. You know how many hours they won't see me, but I'll still be seen?
No, I'll still see you. So when my kid's like, Dad, you were never there. It's like, motherfucker, I was always there.
That's funny.
What was that condom where you needed it?
Jesus.
Came in through the window.
How do you think I got there?
How do you think it got there? Think it was by pure luck? Why do you think that girl got shot in the head? She was pregnant.
Why do you think the cop let you off the hook?
I killed him. Jesus Christ.
Can't wait.
How many kids do you want?
2.
That's it?
Yeah.
Both,
You gotta understand, I grew up not having
both boys?
siblings. I'd be okay with whatever, honestly.
What's premium for you?
Girl and boy. Girl, boy.
Both boys.
No.
Bro, that's premium.
No.
You know why?
Why?
One learns from the other. You only have to teach one. Girls not like that.
Yeah, that's what create like issues with your kids.
One learns from the other. The younger is always better.
Yeah, but you still need to be around. You can't be like, oh, you weren't learn from. It's like, yeah,
No,
you
no,
see
no,
that,
no,
you
no,
see it
no.
all the time.
No. It's not that you not in the life of one or the other, but it's like if you teach the first one, the second one will learn much faster. Girls and boys are
Yeah,
not like that.
maybe.
It's a totally different game.
Hmm.
When a girl turns, you've never had this. When a girl turns 13, 12, 13, 11, when they hit that puberty rush,
Mm.
man, is it different.
Oh yeah,
Man, is it different.
yeah, I get it. I know it's
I
different.
have friends that had daughters that
Mhm.
I would go over their house and the daughter would come and she would say hello or whatever, and like, you know, when they're young, right? And like, you know, less than 7.
Yeah.
Once they hit puberty though, that bitch is upstairs listening to some Linkin Park or whatever the fuck she's listening to and she hates her parents. That's how that shit works. And it's just there's no pattern or recognition where you can run patterns on that because you don't have the hormones to understand their behavior patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the number one thing why it's so hard to raise a boy as a mother, as a single mother, and to raise a girl as a single father. It's so hard because you're not there. You never experienced those things.
Yeah.
You got 2 boys. How easy is it? You teach one correctly. He turns 8. You have another one. That one is fully protected by his older brother at all times. Best case scenario of 2 dummies growing up, Nate and Nick Diaz. 2 fucking CTE dummies. But look at them. They're so codependent on each other. It's ridiculous. They're in their 40s. They got kids and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he still says, my big brother.
Yeah.
It's still like they're kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's only instilled in that older brother, younger brother scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it does turn bad. Sometimes it does turn bad where the older brother, if he's not taught right, he'll abuse the younger brother because he got abused.
Yeah.
But if you teach the older brother, that transition to the second brother is very easy. Clothes, cost of raising your child, help. You know, if the second child is old enough, they'll probably babysit the first kid, right? And if you show in front of the second kid that you respect and trust the choices of the first kid, what happens is that not only the first kid has more respect for you and wants to do better, but also it shows a hierarchy as far as the second listening to the first because they're both boys. How I grew up with an older sister.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to my older sister because I didn't see a hierarchy because she wasn't the male.
Mm.
And if I was a girl, it would have been different. It would have been easier to raise the second. It'd be not as simple as two boys, but it'd be still easier than one boy, one girl. You're in a total different stratosphere from every boy, girl, child combo I've seen. Very difficult to raise because it's like full time. There's no sheep plan. As soon as you learn how to raise a boy, now you have a totally different character. You have to raise it. You can't treat the same.
It's the beauty of life, brother. Because you can't control any of this.
You can't control, but there are aspects that are scientifically proven to give you the best chance of having a boy. It's actually harder to have boys than girls.
Yeah, I don't believe in it. Like, I believe that it's true, but I don't. It's like, man, what are we doing here? I'm not trying to create a family with a robot and then trying to create this like artificially enhanced ideal thing, right? Like,
yeah, but you want to experience the most you can in life, and how do you experience that?
Yeah,
by
hold
having
on, no,
one of each?
I do not believe personally, and you're not going to convince me otherwise, that interfering with a lot of natural things in life is the best way to experience fulfillment and joy. That's just not how I see
Nobody
things.
said that.
No, but I'm telling you this. So
No,
I don't believe
in fulfillment
Hold
is
on.
not the experience of joy, though.
I don't, because you're talking about you want to get the most out of life. If you believe that's how you're going to get the most out of life, fair play. I
Yeah.
wish you all the best, and I'll try and help you the most I can.
How? How the fuck are you gonna help
you
me?
need, whatever you need, bro. Maybe you need to tag in there. You need.
How dare you,
need,
sir?
You need a lifeline. What do you need? Like,
No.
you need a fucking donation. Like, whatever it takes, man. I don't really care. Be the Godfather. But for me, when I'm talking about, creating and raising a family, there's certain things that make sense to me to try and influence, and there's certain things that I say, listen, this is beyond me. Me trying to influence it and trying to get what I want is going to be worth more effort and time than is worth, and I believe it's going to take away from the process overall.
Do you think it's because you are a man of God?
Yeah. A lot of it has to do with that for sure.
Yeah.
It's where it's part of my value
It's in
system.
God's hands now.
Not, yeah, sure, some things, right? But it's
Yeah.
like that. My value system definitely derives from it. Like in
Okay.
certain aspects in life, for sure, could be like, yo, why do you think this way? Okay, well, like that.
So weren't you the same guy that's saying your logic before religion?
No, you actually always say that.
Are
right?
you not though?
It's like it's not that simple, right?
At times, things that you can't.
there are
prove,
there are
yes.
certain things that I believe that other people would say is wrong for believing in, but that's just how I am.
But
So-
do they have sufficient proof to prove you wrong?
No, they say it wrong in the sense that like if you're within a certain belief system, like you should be all about it, or like you should do this or like that. But I just don't see it that way.
I think that argument is irrelevant. It's talking about absolutism versus your.
No, it's more than absolutism. Like it's just, and I understand the argument. I just don't see it that way. There are certain things you'll ask me about, and I'm going to speak about my experiences, and I'll use that for how I form my opinions.
Okay.
And there are certain things that I'm going to basically derive to God, and that's just that's how it is.
I think that you have not seen the lessons that you need to see in order for you to change your opinion about, believing in God in certain aspects. Because you haven't seen these things proven to you to be wrong or right, you default to what you were taught as a child to be religious and depend on God.
No, that's not what it is. It's more I believe in in a lot of main tenets of an established religion that I was raised in, but I don't believe in the system overall and how it's administrated. So there are certain things I disagree with, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I do believe in God, and I believe in a lot of the values from which He derives, like a lot of moral values
Sure.
that people take for granted now.
Sure.
I can appreciate the fact that come from Him or
Sure.
come from an idea of Him, right?
Sure.
So I'm not blind to the fact that there are other versions of this, but a lot of things in my life that I uphold, do come from God.
Let's say you're 80 and you realize that this thing that you just said about not participating in things and kind of leaving it as, let's say, natural, in a natural sense, to accumulate in a natural way. What if you realize at 70 that you were wrong the whole time? Wouldn't you change your ways?
Change my ways. So hold on, you're being very vague right now, right?
Let me explain.
So
Let me explain.
you made a specific example about
Yeah.
influencing the gender or sex of your
Yeah,
child, and
okay.
I said I just
Sure.
don't believe it. I don't
That's
think
an
it makes
example,
sense.
though. That's not. It's
Well,
not
that's
that you're
what we're
wrong.
talking about, right? So if you want, mention something else, sure. But like to then use that example in your vague reasoning to then say if at 70 I realized that was wrong. Well, that doesn't make any sense because my kids are grown. Like you gotta bring something else up, otherwise that's a weird example.
Sure. Let's say that an aspect of life that you look at, you say, okay, I believe it's in the hands of God. I'm not gonna participate in changing the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let's say later in life you realize that no, you should have changed the outcome. Wouldn't you want to change your ways? Because right now you don't think that changing the outcome is worth your time, right? You believe that leaving the outcome in a natural way is the superior way of doing things based on your beliefs and what you've seen and what you've experienced in your life.
I didn't say it's superior. I say it's what I prefer to do.
What you prefer to do.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if it is wrong,
I'm not saying that it's wrong. I don't want to do it.
okay, that's fair.
That's why I said if you want to go ahead and do it,
No,
I'm not saying that you're wrong for or the other person's wrong for, or I'm not even saying the idea is wrong. I just personally don't want to do it.
The point of the conversation is that if the thought of I should have did it ever crosses in your mind,
I know what you're trying to do. You're not going to get me to do it. I'm telling you right now. I'm 3 steps ahead of where you think you are. Like I know what you're trying to get me to do, but I'm so firm in it. I'm just not going to I'm not going to guide myself to be where you're trying to get me to go.
fair.
Yeah. Like I understand what you're saying. You're like, if at some point in life you were convinced, okay, yeah, but I don't believe in living life by regret. So even if I made the wrong choice, or I came to the realization that I made the wrong choice,
You would have no regrets.
yeah, it's not that you don't have no regrets, but you can't be living your life looking back and saying, oh, I should have done this differently. I'll do it differently all the time. Like I think for some things it makes sense. Like, have you heard of Gabor Mate? This guy's like a local doctor. He does a lot of. He's actually cool. He's a Hungarian born, but he's based out of Vancouver. He does a lot of. He did a lot of work with people like drug addicts and rehab, and he believes that a lot of mental health and a lot of issues can be solved without drugs. And it's like he's kind of a cool guy in the sense that he doesn't subscribe to the current medical establishment in a lot of ways, even though he's actually a doctor. Anyways, he's on a podcast with some guy. I saw a clip. And he was basically talking about how when he was coming up, studying, raising his children, and doing all of life, he felt that a lot of his time was being taken away to his studies to pursue some goal that he made in his head. And if he had to go back and do it all again, he would actually do it differently. So that's a really interesting example of a guy looking back at his life and saying, you know what? I actually would have done it differently. And his reasoning was he felt that a lot of the things that he was doing that was taking time away from his kids, taking time away from his relationships and all this other stuff were self-imposed things that at the end of the day had no real value. Like he was telling himself that he needed to be this person, like this doctor, this crazy, like this really good student, all these things, but it was taking away so much time from his other relationships that in the moment he never saw it, but when he looks back on it now, he does. And that's an example of him saying, you know what, I actually would have changed how I would have done things. So that kind of thing is really interesting because it goes back to what did he actually value his whole life? He realizes that he actually valued his relationships. It's just that he wasn't respecting that earlier on in life. So that's really interesting.
I think that's what I'm trying to persuade to you.
But
that
I know my values, right? I know
your
what I value.
values
So
now
I
at 30 years old.
no, it's not at 30 years old. Your values don't change unless you go through like a really big like thing in life. Like your values are always there for you,
Sure.
right? So
But you grow
that doesn't
within
change.
your values as you get older.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you don't accumulate new ones or take unless you go through some like really big events
Dramatic
in life.
change.
Yeah,
And
like
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, but now you're talking about hypothetical. It's like Hector, what if some like unspoken thing happens to you? It's like what
Hector,
are we
come
doing
on,
here?
man.
Like what are we
Anything
doing?
about the future is hypothetical.
Sort of, but like we've done this exercise so many times.
So many times. And we're so deep in it, it's a chess move to convince you to be a hypothetical scenario.
No, it's not that. It's like you're trying to like get me to see something that you want me to see. I know what you want me to see, but it's like you're basically saying in some world where your value set gets completely different and then this sort of thing. It's like, okay, well, what's the point? Then sure, you want me to say that if my values completely change in X amount of years and I look back on it and I say, oh shit, I fucked up, then look back on it and then think that that future is somehow supposed to change my present? Like, come on, man. Like, what are we doing with that?
No, it's not supposed to change your present, but it's always nice to reevaluate areas of thought that you almost have an absolute strategy in believing currently. Like you believe something currently.
Mm-hmm.
You might be open to the idea of these morals changing or not, but to think that this is how you're going to think for a long time is ridiculous. Just like the hypothetical scenario. It's a ridiculous scenario, but we had to go there for me to prove or show a sample scenario of how there's no absolutes, that you might think this way for now, I might think this way for now, but who knows what will happen to change these scenarios. I mean, crazy things have happened in life. Crazier things have happened in life.
I just honestly I don't understand the whole purpose of this, because it's like if I tell you, hey, I think this is what I want to do, you're like, yeah, but what if you? It's like, okay, sure, like yeah, there's a world out there where like I changed my mind, but so what? What's the point of that?
No, the point
I don't get
is
that.
is that there is no there should be no school of thought that this is how it's going to be. And by the way you were arguing that, it seemed like, of course, you're going to be content with your values, but my point is even values change. And yeah, you might say, okay, in a drastic way, only in a drastic way, it might. I can point at 10 fucking drastic shit. My life has changed completely at any point.
I don't think you actually have identified a value set for yourself, though. I don't think you've ever done an inventory for what you truly value in life.
I don't think you know me enough to know if I have.
I don't think you know you enough to actually do that for yourself.
I don't think you're a person that would know that, though. This is the problem with you, is that you think deep thoughts haven't crossed my mind, or I haven't evaluated. If I had a middle name, it'd be evaluation, because I've sunk so low so many times, more than most people.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to evaluate myself. I was one of the most egotistical people I've ever known.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to reevaluate almost every day. And that's how you improve, is reevaluation. And there's no way I can ever say my morals are the way they're going to be. My morals are going to continuously grow and improve, sometimes drastically, to the point where I have to completely reevaluate my morals.
What I find interesting is why... I find it interesting why it's interesting to you. Like, if someone comes and tells you, this is how I feel, and I'm going to feel this way for, like, whatever, like, this is how I feel, I think I'm going to be thinking in X amount of time, it's interesting to me why you want to question that.
It's always nice to see people being skeptical of life. That's the only way you're going to improve, is being skeptical of your own values at times. You have to be skeptical. Even your own ways.
But that's what I'm saying. It's interesting to me how you're doing that to me. That's an interesting thing to do to yourself. fair enough.
Yeah.
Do it to yourself every day, like you just mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that you would do it to me.
Because it's a school of thought, right? It's a school of thought.
School of thought, yeah, sure.
Okay.
But what do you mean by school of thought? Do you know? What
Because a school of thought that has any type of resemblance to being an absolutist is, I don't want to say foolish, but it's short-sighted.
Okay.
And having a school of thought of any possibility is much more rich than having a school of thought that you're set in a certain way.
So then, by that definition, I may as well not answer anything you tell me because if you're just open to all possibilities at all times, you're just never going to pick a thing.
Not true.
Yes.
You can-
Because I could have answered that question and been like, oh yeah, like
you can
maybe.
Okay.
I'll just say maybe to everything, right? Because that means I'm open
No.
to doing it or I'm not. That's
No,
what it is.
It's not that you making choices is the wrong thing. It's that you're so sure about your choices.
Yeah, that's the kind
Okay.
of person that I am. I've
But-
always been a person to be sure of what I do. And if it turns out to be wrong, then you're wrong and you reevaluate and you go through it again.
Sure.
But
sure.
I've always been consistently a person who's very sure of his character and very sure of his decisions. And that can be a fault, but that's just me. That's my life.
Nobody's saying that because of this you're wrong in your ideology.
No, but I'm saying it's happened. It's happened many
everybody's
times.
like this. I'm
no,
like
no,
that
but
too.
like I said, like that's just me.
Yeah.
I've always been a man of very strong convictions.
Yeah, but
That's just how I am.
Any real man is a man of strong convictions. My only the only reason we ran this exercise was to show that even a man of great convictions that is so sure of himself shouldn't be so sure of himself. Yes, sometimes you make the right choices with two wrong choices, you make the right choice. Or of two great choices, you make what you think is the greatest choice. But my point is that at any point of time, your choices could be wrong. My choices could be wrong. All of our choices could be wrong. This podcast could have been a bad idea. But the idea that you're open to understanding that your choices might have been wrong is the practice of itself, is to show that, oh, okay, at any time, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I see, this is what I'm sure of. The wrong thing to do is saying that, oh, I'm never going to change. This is always going to be the same. Nobody is. Nobody's ever the same for 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years. Nobody's the same. That, it's not even alarming. It's a good practice to run. It's a good practice to show that, oh, end of the conversation. You might be sure of that right now, but you don't know if you're going to be sure of that in 10 years. And the idea to say that I will be that's why we had this conversation.
Well, that's why you wanted to have this conversation. And I'd gladly join with you because these
Sure.
are interesting, right? But like,
Again, you wanted to have fucking,
like I said, I'm always open to them.
you
They're
wanted
good.
to have some.
They're good to have.
Sometimes it's nice to have crossroads of thoughts.
Crossroads of thoughts. Not bad. Not
You
bad.
know, you come from a different angle. I'm making a left, and you're making a left, and we hit each other.
And we hit each other.
Sometimes that makes it interesting, and sometimes want to punch each other in the face. But it's just about these lessons that we learn together. Because sometimes, when was the last time you remember having somebody trying to implement this?
Implement what?
Implement a complete cross thought from what you have. There's not much friction in the real world. People don't come up to you and say, "Oh, you're completely wrong in this. You should maybe think of like this." This doesn't happen.
You'd be surprised. It's
You
not
think
as
so?
often. It's not super often, but it's not infrequent. I'll tell you offline how it happens. It's not what you think. It's not what you think. I promise you, it's not what you think.
All right. We had some good quotes in there. We don't
We
even
did.
need a
We
last
did.
quotes. Yeah,
Sign
man.
off.
Sign off. We're out.
Peace.
Peace.